Hi, my name is Paul Lilly, and I facilitate the cyber chapter for Guitars for Vets, which provides virtual guitar lessons for veterans. We've been asked by Challenge America to help assist with the Challenge America Veterans and Arts program by providing you a lesson on tuning your guitar with your new digital Snark tuner. Guitars for Vets is proud to participate with Challenge America and to help you on your guitar journey. And in tuning your guitar, you're going to be in the company of a lot of famous people who also had to learn how to tune their guitar. Tuning is very important, and as a beginner, we recommend tuning every time you pick up your guitar. By doing so, you're not only training your ear to be able to hear when a note is in tune and not in tune, but you're going to be getting your guitar ready to be played. So here's the difference between an in tune and an out of tune guitar. So let's get started. How to use for the purpose of getting you started. Everything we're going to care about is on this front digital display. When you get your Snark tuner in the box, generally there might be a plastic tab here where the battery compartment is. You just need to pull that plastic tab out, and now the batteries have made contact. If that's not the case and the battery was actually delivered to you outside of the Snark tuner, this little shelf here just comes out. Has a battery in it. We just want to make sure that the positive terminal of the battery is what's facing the ceiling when you're holding the Snark tuner upside down, and it just slides right back in there until you hear a click. They're pretty simple to use. There's some rubber pads here. Those are going to go on our headstock. I'll show you that in a minute.
The best way is to figure out if you're right-handed or left-handed. Let's say you're right-handed, because I am, and this guitar is as well. And there are left-handed guitarists. So let me just explain this for right-handed guitarists. So what we'll do is, if we're right-handed, we're going to place the guitar on our right knee. Okay? Same as your strumming hand. So I'm right-handed, so my dominant hand is going to be the strumming hand. The neck is going to be parallel to the floor, and make sure the thickest string is the one closest to you. And that is a right-handed guitar for this.
All right, so I just want to quickly demonstrate how the Snark tuner works. We're just going to clip it on our headstock. We just want to get a good area. I know the headstocks are all built a little differently, but you usually have a good piece of wood up here to get on. I have a regular Snark here in black and a red super tight Snark tuner. I'm going to turn them on just by pressing the big button on the face. They're all pretty much built the same. The yellow button is the on for this black one. Don't worry if you don't have the exact same color scheme. The front of the Snark is going to look the same. This is the on-off button, which is the important one for tuning. And I just want to show you my E string is not in tune. So I just want you to pay more attention to the dial and the visuals that both of these Snark tuners are giving you. So both of them are reading an E. They have a little bit of a different way of showing how close I am to in tune. For this black one, there is this orange bar that moves, and what it wants me to do is get right at 12 o'clock, and then it will turn green. So that would be this string, E string, in tune, because I'm really looking at that green bar. Again, I'll lower it. Now we'll look at this one. This one has a sweeping red line, but again, the goal is to get to 12 o'clock. Right at the 12 o'clock, if you saw this as a clock face, right at 12 o'clock. So this one has more of a sweeping red line that's telling me I'm not at the green yet. And there, I'm at the green. And you could see for both of them, if I tune down just a little bit, that would be perfectly in tune. So before we put our Snark tuner on and we start tuning to our target notes, there's two things I want to talk about first. One is, what is our target notes? And before we talk about that, I want to talk about this idea of pitch or sound, because that's really what we're adjusting and we're tuning to. This isn't a theory class. I won't go very deeply into this. But I want to talk a little bit about pitch and demonstrate that on the guitar because that's going to be relevant to us tuning. So when we're plucking a string, we're hearing a sound wave. We're hearing a note and it's a sound wave. And the pitch is how our human ear hears that and understands the sound wave. So pitch is basically the frequency of a note. So if I were to press a finger on the 5th fret, and that's a note, it's got a note name, and if I were to make that pitch go higher in tone, the way our ear hears it, it would sound like this. So now I'm here versus here, and just by sliding you could hear the pitch go up. The same is true if we start on a target note and we slide down, we're going to hear the pitch going down. So the pitch goes up, the pitch goes down based on what we want. And all we're doing when we're tuning our guitars is we're going to be turning these tuning keys or tuning pegs. They will either tighten the string, which will increase the pitch to make it go higher. So I'm just going to tune this and tighten it so you could hear it. It's going higher and higher. Or if I'm tuning the tuning peg to get to my target note, I'm going to loosen it. So the next thing we need to talk about is the note names, because these become our target notes and that's what we're tuning to. So you had to have a reference point or a reference note. So a note, when we call it a note, that's really just a pitch that has a specific name because it has a specific frequency. So the target notes that we want to do in open standard tuning, which is what I believe you'll all be starting with, is the names of each of these strings when they're plucked unfretted. So by unfretted, I mean if I'm pressing my finger down against the string to the fretboard on this piece of wood, that's called fretting. But if I'm just plucking it, that's open string. So we're going to tune, obviously, to the open string note names. The note names are E, A, D, G, B, and E. So again, if I'm looking down on my guitar, I'm looking at the string closest to my chin, which is the thickest string. And if I were to name the notes going down, it's E, A, B, E, A, D, G, B, and E. And there's a whole bunch of mnemonics to remember that. I've heard everything from elephants and donkeys grow big ears. Again, E, A, D, G, B, E. There's also this mnemonic. There's also this mnemonic. But whatever works for you, for the purposes of tuning, we're trying to get these target notes of E, A, D, G, B, and E. For the dear old flag I died, said the wounded drummer boy. Mother precious. You may have received your guitar shipped to you with the strings on it very, very loose. So one of the things we're going to do is look at how do you use your digital tuner when you have a guitar with very loose strings. So what I've done on this guitar is I've loosened the high E string, my thinnest string. You can see how far it's coming up, as well as my low E string. Again, you can see how far it's coming up off the faceboard. That shouldn't be like that, but that's very loose strings. The next string I didn't, and you can see I can't lift that up nearly as high. So if I were to turn my Snark tuner on this low string that's very, very loose, my Snark tuners might be giving me a reading, but it is so loose that it's not even close to the E that we want. So what I do is when I'm strumming this, I'm just going to tighten this until I stop hearing a buzzing noise. I'm still hearing a buzz. The buzz is just leaving. So maybe now what I'll do is check the Snark tuners on this one. And I'm at a C. I need to be on an E. So to get that, again, I want to get my 12 o'clock position. First, I want the letter to read E. There we go, I'm at E, but I'm still a little short. I got to get to the green arrow on both of those, or on one of them. And then that would be how I tune my low E string. I've done the same on the high E string. It's the thinner string, but I'll do the same thing where if I strum it pretty hard, it's very buzzy, so I don't want any of that buzz. So I'm going to tighten it. I'm still hearing a buzz. I'm still hearing a buzz. And it's all right to pluck it hard if it's still loose. I'm still kind of hearing a buzz there. My buzz is going away. So now what I'm going to do is use my Snark tuner to get to an E. You see I'm on A, B, C. I'm going to go through the musical alphabet. Hope my string doesn't break. There's a D, D sharp, and then we're going to get to an E. And again, I need to be on the green. So a good rule of thumb when you're tuning very, very loose strings is don't worry about looking at the face of this when the string is so loose, because it might confuse you and you might have a very, very, very low E on this string that you're feeling like you want to stop at because it says E, but we need to get the string with enough tension to get it in the standard tuning register. So again, if my guitar came with a very, very loose set of strings, I mean, I could just keep loosening this. And you could see it's very wobbly. If I were to pluck it hard, it sounds terrible. So I'm going to tune it until I can't make it buzz anymore when I'm pulling out on that string. And I'm not even going to worry about the Snark tuner yet. Still hear a buzz. Still hear a buzz. Little bit of a buzz. All right. I'd say my buzz is mostly gone. Now I'm going to look at my Snark tuner and I'm going to get that to the letter E, which is the first note name I want on this low string. So we've got E, now we got to get it right to the green at the 12 o'clock position on our Snark tuners. And that's it. Do that with each of your strings. If they're all, a lot of times guitars will come and they'll only be detuned like maybe half a step, so you won't really need to go through that. That's only if the strings are really, really loose. So for example, if my guitar was sent to me and it was detuned a little bit, but not a lot, I would say maybe that's a little bit. I got a bit of a buzz, but I have enough tension on here that I can start to look at my E. We're only really worried about not looking at that Snark tuner when your strings are really, really, really soft, when you could practically lift them off. Again, if I try to look at my Snark tuner, it doesn't even register, because it barely registers, I should say, because it needs a certain amount of vibration. So if I were to worry about getting to a D when it's this low, I'd be, or excuse me, an E, it might be a little misleading because look how loose my string still is. So again, a good rule of thumb is take the buzz out when you're plucking hard. I would say most of my buzz is out now. Now I'll look at my Snark tuner. And I got to get to an E. And that should do it. All right, so let's put our digital tuner on our headstock. Let's give it a long press and turn it on. And let's start with the lowest string, one closest to my chin as I'm holding the guitar in playing position. And we said that's Eddie, or elephant, it's E. So we want to make sure when we're plucking the string that we're tuning to the green in E. Now remember, because this works on vibration, it's kind of important as we're doing this that we're not plucking all of the strings except the one we want. So in this case, I'm I'm kind of holding my other fingers just to mute. I'm not pressing down. I just don't want them making any sort of vibration noise to pick up. So I generally will hold my fingers over these strings, and the string that I want, I will let that buzz. And really there's only 3 steps as we're checking these. It's really pluck, look, and adjust. Pluck, then we're going to look at our digital tuner, and we're going to see that it's in the yellow. That tells us it's well, actually we need to look at that letter. So that letter is a D sharp. There's a D, and you could see a number or a pound sign next to it. So I need to be above that in the alphabet, A, B, C, D, E. So I need to tighten that D to get that pitch higher. Remember when we said the pitch goes up as we tighten it. So I want to be on an E. So now I'm on the letter E, but I could see that the red is telling me I'm still too low. I need to tighten the tuning peg and try and get it into the green. Now you don't need big turns. If you get a big turn, you could see that I went past the E and I went to an F. So I'm going to turn it less severe, and now I'm in the yellow E, which I don't want. It's good I'm in the E, but I want to be green, right at 12 o'clock position. So right now my low string is pretty much in tune. It's kind of blinking there. I might just adjust it a touch tighter to see if I could get it to stay green. And the thing when you're plucking, what you don't want to do necessarily is have a one long pluck, because the especially as you're adjusting it, once you've got it right in tune, that's fine, but as you're adjusting it, you don't want to hit it too strong or too light. It picks up the vibrations. And doing a fast repetitive pluck isn't good, because when you pluck that string, it's vibrating, and that first pluck is the initial kind of big bend on it, the big oscillation of the string. So you kind of want it to sustain. So it's not an either fast or a very slow pluck. I would just do kind of a pretty constant pluck. So that's E. We know our next string that we need is 8, Eddie 8. So that would be an A, and look at that, I'm really close. It's blinking there towards the green. I'm just going to tighten it a bit because it's defaulting to the red. And if I keep going, E, A, D is my next target note. And that's also in tune. So I'm going to take my G, because that might also be in tune. This Martin guitar stays in tune really well. So I'm going to lower it just to show you. So this is a G that still needs to be tightened because I'm in the red. This would be a G that's too tight because now I'm in the yellow. So the only way I'm adjusting that is just turning this maybe quarter of a turn, if even that, and then I'm seeing what happens. And you can tell I'm going too high. So that's what I was saying. You don't have to try and remember, is it righty-tighty? Is it counterclockwise? Just use the visual that's there, and right now I'm in the yellow on the G. I want to get towards the green, so I want the yellow to be less. So I'm going to turn, and look, if I'm wrong, I went all the way to a G sharp. I don't know if you can see that little sharp sign, but it kind of bounces there, and that means I'm too high. I want to go back to just a G. A G sharp is a different note name. It's not the note name I want. So you could see I'm getting closer to the green, and just use that visual reference so you know. Red means you need to be tighter, and if you don't know which way tighter is, just turn it. And if you get closer to your target, good. If you get farther away from your target, just do the opposite. So this is a G that's too low. In the musical alphabet, the note before a G is an F sharp. And again, that's not what we want, because Eddie 8 Dynamite good is the target note we want. So there's my G string. There is my B string. And again, oops, I'm tuning it the wrong way. My red's getting smaller, which means I'm getting even further away from a B. And again, if I go too low, I'm on the wrong letter. I'm on an A sharp. And this is this string here that I'm plucking. I want that to be a B. So I need to raise that. I'm only on an A sharp. And there puts me right there at the B. Now my last is the same as my first. The note's the same. They're octaves apart. And you can see that is right on. All right, so we've reviewed your digital tuner. We've looked at what it does and how to read the different colors on it. And we've talked about what your target notes are. The EAD, GBE is what you're going to be tuning to. I want to show you a very, very common mistake that often happens. I know it's happened to me many times. And this whole thing you're going through in learning this great instrument, it's a little uncomfortable at first because you're not used to holding this. Your hands aren't used to the feeling of the frets and the strings. But one of the common mistakes when someone is tuning, and I'm going to move over here a little bit so you can see the headstock, is if I'm tuning and plucking my A string, my second string, that's going to read as an A. So I'm going to take it out of tune. So I'm a little low right now. I know you can't see that, but that's not the purpose yet. One of the common mistakes is if I'm plucking, whatever string I'm plucking, that's what my digital tuner is going to read. But if I have my hand on this tuner, which is my E string, not my A string, my very first string closest to my chin is my E string, and I'm going like this on my second string or the A string, it's reading A, but if I could turn this and listen, nothing happens. And many guitarists will think that the tuner's just not reacting, that's staying the same, and they'll start cranking and cranking and cranking. And what's happening obviously is I'm plucking the second string, so the digital tuner is rightly telling me that's an A, and this isn't moving because I'm turning the wrong tuning peg. So one of the things you could consider when you're first tuning is, as we just did, if we started with the low E, so I'm going to not use the A, I'm going to use the E, I'm going to pluck it, and then just so that I'm sure, I'm going to take this finger and it's going to ride all the way along till I get to that tuning key. So my E is way sharp now because I was messing with it. I'm going to bring it back into tune by lowering the pitch. So now I'm going to move to my A, but to be sure, while I'm plucking it, I'm going to take my finger and ride it along the A string, past the E tuning peg to make sure I'm on the right tuning peg. So that's one of the common mistakes, is if you're plucking a string and reading from the tuner and you're on the wrong tuning key and you're just cranking and cranking and cranking, if you're tightening it, there's a chance that you could break it. And that's not the end of the world. Strings break, and you'll be taught hopefully through this how to change your strings. But that's a very common mistake. So if you are plucking and you're tuning and you're not seeing any movement, you've seen how sensitive these are in terms of reading the different vibrations. So these are very sensitive. If you're tuning the right tuning peg, these will be moving. The bars, lit bars on these will be responding. If you turn this a couple times and you see that it's not turning, just stop, kind of see what string you're plucking, go down to it, run your finger down that string till it attaches to the tuning peg that you want. So the other common mistake that happens is forgetting about your sharps and your flats. I'm not going to talk about sharps and flats in respect to music theory, but for tuning, if your target note, say, is an A, and you pluck your string, and you could see my yellow tells me I'm just a little sharp, so I need to lower that A just a little bit. But if you think that's in tune, you're right, that's an A sharp that's in tune. And if you forget about that little sharp, that is not our target note. Our target note is an A. So forgetting about the sharps and flats sometimes confuses people because they'll say, look, my A string is fine, it's in the green. So we want to make that sharp disappear. In all of our open string notes, E, A, D, G, B, E, there are no sharps and no flats that we're tuning to. So E, A, D, G, and our B, and E. One final word of advice. When you're done with your tuner, give it a hard press to turn it off. And it's a good idea not to leave it on your headstock. These rubber pads, if they come in contact, there's so many different finishes they're using on guitar wood now. And if this is left on long term or left on and is exposed to sunlight while it's on there, there is a chance that you could discolor right where it's gripping. So again, it's very safe in short tuning sessions, but I wouldn't leave it on there. I wouldn't store it on your headstock. I would take it off when you're done tuning. And again, we want to tune every time we pick up that guitar to practice or play.
Grace on thee.